This is the Middle East Report.
They can't contend with the science because they can't contend with the archaeology that is showing Jews have been here for thousands of years. So they go to the United Nations, where they have the ability to pass whatever resolutions they want that are slowly rewriting Jerusalem's history.
Each week, American Family Radio brings you truthful reporting on what's happening in Israel and the Middle East. I'm John Riley. When people visit Jerusalem's Old City, they may believe it's the same place that King David set up as his capital more than 3,000 years ago. But that's not the case. The ancient biblical city of Jerusalem is located just outside the walls of Jerusalem's Old City. This is where Jerusalem began. This is the location of King David's palace, where kings were anointed and where many other biblical events happened. The city of David is mentioned numerous times in Scripture. Archaeologists continue to uncover the original city, affirming the historical connection to Jerusalem that the Jewish people have had for over 3,000 years. Zeev Orenstein is director of International Affairs for the City of David. Zeev says the continuing archaeological discoveries at the City of David continue to shatter the lies of those who would deny the truth about Jerusalem.
And it's very sad. Today, politically, you have Palestinians, you have Muslim countries in the United Nations who have built a narrative that Israel is a colonial project, that Jews are foreign to the region, to the land of Israel, to Jerusalem in particular. We're colonizers, occupiers, foreigners. And therefore, when people talk about the peace process, essentially from that perspective, the peace process is essentially negotiations over how to return stolen property. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is the City of David. The connection of Jews and Christians to Jerusalem goes back thousands of years. Not just because it says so in the Bible, but because the very earth is calling out. Antiquities are being unearthed, which are showing, again, not simply as a matter of faith, but as a matter of fact, the connection of Jews and Christians to Jerusalem. And therefore, we're not foreigners. We're not colonizers. We're not occupiers. We are the native sons and daughters of the land. And now, if you want to have a conversation about the future of Jerusalem, happy to. But that's going to be the starting point. Now, of course, that starting point does not advance the narrative that the Palestinians have been pushing. And therefore, because they can't contend with the science, because they can't contend with the archaeology that is showing Jews have been here for thousands of years, so they go to the United Nations, where they have the ability to pass whatever resolutions they want that are slowly rewriting Jerusalem's history. They then find common cause with others, let's say in Europe today, who reject the Bible, who reject faith, and who therefore reject anything that would seem to affirm that faith.
You're listening to the Middle East Report from American Family Radio. I'm John Riley. Zeev says when it comes to Jerusalem, the facts on the ground don't lie.
Again, from a scientific, archaeological perspective, it's not rabbis and priests who are digging. It's archaeologists, it's scientists. And they're the ones who are finding these discoveries and saying, well, here's what we're finding. Here's what it says in the Bible. Whether we like it or not, it seems to match up. And what do you do with that? And therefore, there are those, whether for theological reasons or political reasons, find these discoveries to be inconvenient. And so as much as you and I and many of your listeners are excited by these discoveries, there are others, sadly, who are terrified by them because it's literally shaking the foundations of the house of cards that they've built. And these discoveries represent a gust of wind that's blowing it down. If you were to say to me, do you believe King David existed? Well, sure, I believe King David existed. I believe King Hezekiah existed or any other biblical figure. But there's something special when you could pull something out of the ground that shows not simply as a matter of faith, but as a matter of fact. It's real. It's true. You could see it. You could touch it. We're living in a time of unprecedented denial of the Jewish and Christian heritage in Jerusalem at the United Nations and elsewhere. And yet we're also living at a time of unprecedented discovery.
You can visit the City of David today. You can walk on ancient stones and see for yourself as the biblical narratives come to life. To find out more or to financially support the archaeological efforts happening in the City of David, visit cityofdavid.org.il. That's the Middle East Report from American Family Radio, each week providing you with truthful reporting on what's happening in Israel and the Middle East. I'm John Riley.
Stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. What goes up must come down. There's lots of friendly faces all around, and nothing's ever lifting me higher than a touch of your sweet desire. Well, we're all built in right. We just have to hold on through the night. As long as we are watching the fire, we'll be safe from the devil's choir. I stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. Yeah, yeah. When things go wrong, it's easy to sing a sad song. Seems like nothing comes for free, yeah. And it won't take a lot. Your fragile soul will soon be strong. I'll carry you so tenderly. What I wanna say is that I stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. Breaks my heart seeing you struggle with the things you do, carrying the world on your shoulder. When did we become so much older? Now I wish I could say that all my troubles gonna blow away, but I won't quit until it gets better, even if it takes me forever. I stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. Hey, we can make it. Yeah. Oh, 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 oh. We can make it if we try.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show on the Provision Brokerage Celebrity segment. I'm excited to welcome to the program Eric Couch. Eric, how are you? I know you're excited. I'm excited about this guest because, again, I'm a huge fan in so many aspects about him. How are you, Eric?
Man, I am great. I am excited. We've been looking, my kids, I think, are the most excited when I told them, I was going to be on the call with Patrick today. We were going through the litany of the shows, and it's a fun call to be on.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking about everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And
you gentlemen are too kind.
And hopefully the coronavirus will not screw this up, as I have been dealing with it this week with a great guest I've interviewed this week, and I've just been very blessed. And I'm excited to welcome to the program Patrick Warburton. Patrick, how are you? You know what? My favorite, my favorite is Seinfeld, but I've really gotten into Rules of Engagement as well. After I never watched it when it was on the air, but every night when I'm up late, I would watch it. And you're just tremendous, Patrick. I appreciate you calling.
Oh, gosh, thanks, Neil. I mean, listen, that was fun to do. I felt like in the realm of sitcoms, it was a pretty solid show. It's interesting, when you're doing 22 episodes. Well, actually, we never even did that many. We were mid-season every year on Rules. We were just sort of an insurance policy for the network. So they never gave us a full order pickup. We would just shoot half a season, and then when they would have one of their new darlings, their new shows that they loved to death, and it would crap the bed, as they say, then they would drop us in. So we could have been a show that got 200 250 episodes. Instead, over 7 years, we only did 100 episodes because we were just a mid-season replacement, and they never gave us, the network never gave us any love. But, we've got bigger things on our plate right now than me complaining about a network crapping all over one of their best shows, don't we?
Yeah,
it's so funny.
So
how
it does
put everything in perspective.
Right. How are you hunkering down now with coronavirus? Because at one point in time, we're going to kind of all go back to history of people I talked to this week and the next couple of weeks on my show. That's going to really be something that, who knows in history if we'll ever deal with something like this again.
Yeah, I don't know. We've grown up spoiled. Eric, how many kids do you have?
So we have two. We have a 16-year-old and a 14, almost 15-year-old son and daughter. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got four. We've got four. Neil, you're saying you get six.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because even for them, I think they're just all rolling with the punches. It's a little scarier for us because in our lives we've never seen anything like this. But we've grown up in a world that we've been all so spoiled for so long. After our ancestors and our great grandfathers fought in wars and Spanish flus and all these things, and now with medicine and technology, we've never been scared about anything really. Not even rockets in Korea. The whole thing seems ridiculous. But then when there's something that affects everybody, it becomes it's a bit scary. But I just feel like we've all hunkered down here, and I think we all keep repackaging this thing, like saying there are ways to to look at this all, and I really do think that it's going to be, in the long run, there will be many blessings that come out of this. I feel like we live in the best day and age of medicine. I believe that we're going to get there a lot quicker with this one. I believe that we're going to deal with this one. I believe that all those things in life that we've taken for granted, like social gatherings and hanging out at bars and restaurants forever, it's never been taken away from us, will become, wonderful again. And, we're going to come out on the other side, and I think it'll be sooner than later. But it's just an interesting time right now.
All right, Eric, ask your first question to Patrick.
Absolutely. So, Patrick, there's Men in Black 2 and Seinfeld and Family Guy and Tick and Rules of Engagement, Joe Dirt 2, which I thought was hilarious, the Joe Dirts. But, Family Guy, what's been your favorite role that you've been in, and why was that?
Well, I do have, there are different roles that are favorites for other reasons,
Right.
I guess my favorite role I ever got to play in, say, a half-hour format would still probably be The Tick, because it was so just out there and creative and fun and, bigger than life. And we got to invent our version, so to say, because in our incarnation, got to make the Tick and create the Tick how we wanted to, and so that was great. In regards to independent film experiences, The Woman Chaser was one of my favorite roles ever, because I got to dig in somewhere there that and had an opportunity to do something there that I'd never had before. I could say the same thing about like a Civilization of Maxwell Bright, but that was a little bit more raw, and although it just didn't, it just didn't turn out in the end. It didn't look very polished. And that was like shot on PAL at the time, and it didn't look great. But there's just different roles that all have, that are meaningful for, other reasons. I did a film called The Dish in Australia with Sam Neill, which was one of the best experiences I've ever had. But Al Burnett, the NASA exec I played, was a little bit more of a subdued character. But I still enjoyed doing that, even though he was, kind of laid down. But
yeah. And when you kind of look at those experiences, what do you think about as makes it the best experience for you? Is it working with the cast? Is it playing that character and developing that whole persona? What do you like most?
Well, I still think, it's the satisfaction you get from a job well done at the end of the day that trumps everything. It always does help if you're working with people you like, and everybody's a team player. Like when I did The Woman Chaser, that was guerrilla filmmaking. We had to steal all our locations. We had very little to work with. I think the entire budget for that movie might have been $500,000, and most of that would have been spent in post and on film stock. But it wasn't, on locations, procuring locations, and so we had to make what we could make do with, wardrobe, and we were working super long hours, and nobody got paid a dime. And but at the end of the day, we made an interesting little movie that's garnered some respect throughout the years. And so that's cool. It's cool when you can go into something with very little, with nothing really but a script, and then a lot of people do a lot of hard work, and then you got something that is unique, like The Woman Chaser.
Interesting. All right, Eric, what next question do you have? I know that Eric's very interesting in the fact that he told me, he said, Neil, because I was giving him the background, he said, well, I got a lot of different questions. I said, okay, Eric, I love the follow-up question when I get to co-host, but go ahead with your next question, Eric.
Well, so another question that came to mind is, okay, of all the people you've worked with, who, if you could work with, if you could have your pick of who you worked with again, or someone you may have never worked with, who would that be? Is it someone just jump out real quick?
Well, the retired Daniel Day-Lewis immediately.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you never know when you're going to get an opportunity to work with somebody you haven't worked with. I really enjoyed working with Sam Neill. That was a fantastic experience. The first movies I ever did are unwatchable pieces of garbage that the Canon Film Company made. But I did get to spend 4 months working with the great Oliver Reed. And I'll look back and I'll go, it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life, being 22 years old in South Africa. And I spent 4 months drinking with the man. I was a kid. I was 22. He was 49. But we became drinking mates right off the bat. And he kind of took me under his arm and decided to keep me as drunk as he could for 4 months. And although I was sober on set, he wasn't. He's still the only watchable thing in these movies. You brought up Joe Dirt 2 earlier.
Right.
And I love Davey. Spade is an old buddy of mine, and I've always been a fan of his. And but I'll always if Davey gives a call, I love to work with him. But when he gave me a call on Joe Dirt 2, I wasn't exactly doing cartwheels, and I didn't have I wasn't feeling so inclined until he said, "Come on, you get to work with Christopher Walken, and he shoots and kills you." And I'm like, "Well, done. I'm there."
In that case,
and so who would have thought that'd be my first opportunity to work with Walken would be on Joe Dirt 2, but it was. So you never know.
That's right. And there was no cowbell involved. So,
and
okay. So, follow up to that is, there's been a lot. Did you always want to be an actor, or kind of where did that come from?
Yeah. Well, my mother was an actress. And she got out professionally when she started having kids, me particular, the oldest, and then I have 3 sisters, and we were all born within 4 years. So I think my dad knew what he was doing. He wanted her out of business. He was a doctor. He wanted her out of business, and then he got her pregnant 4 years in a row, and that was it. So my mother did make a great sacrifice there. She still says she has no regrets, but I believe that if you're an actor, it's in your blood, to give it all up like that. And she gave it up very early. There is something that, it's gonna get to you a bit, but she was a great mom.
So did she mentor you in a way at your beginning stages of acting?
Not so much. They were supportive. They were until I started working, and then they hated everything I ever did because they're deep, real religious people. My father was in the monastery for 3 months before he realized that wasn't his calling, and then he went into medicine. And my mother was brought up by the nuns. So I've gone through decades of hell from them for being on Family Guy, which they believe is the ruination of society. And have asked me numerous times. They just wish to God that I would get off that show. I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal, Mom, Dad. It's called satire. It's humor. It's a cartoon. And sometimes I think of the hardcore religious that gets so wrapped up in stuff that's such a diversion from what's really important as far as bringing your kids up right, teaching them right and wrong. As opposed to, a raunchy cartoon, which, gives everybody a laugh and some perspective, but it's just, firsthand experiencing that my entire life of them just they were upset when I did my first episode of Seinfeld.
Oh yeah. When you played the devil. Yes. With New Jersey.
Well, but that wasn't the first episode. The first episode I did of Seinfeld was the one where I stole Jerry's move and used it in LA. Well, first off, I couldn't believe that I'd been asked to do an episode of Seinfeld. I'm on Seinfeld. It's just a dream come true. And I did get a letter from somebody I'd never met in Orange County letting me know, you don't know who I am, but I can only imagine how disappointed your parents are in the choices that you're making. And I guess he was right, because I then got a 6-page letter from my father letting me know how disappointed he was. And I'm like, really? But their concern was that in that episode, the sexual act wasn't regarded to with any sanctity. I was like, well, let me explain adult humor. Well, Dad, this is not church. This is just adult humor. But that's how hardcore they were, and that's what I've had to deal with my whole life. Do you feel bad for me?
No, I mean, I understand exactly, and in some ways that we have to look at these things, but then we have to look at the world and what we're dealing with. And again, you're making a living and you're not doing something wrong, but yet some people might think, hey, I will never watch that. And was that tough, Patrick, to say certain things they will not watch that you are such a great talent in because they feel it's too dirty?
Yeah, but that's, and that is fine. And I have no issue with that, because that's art and entertainment. Things aren't for everybody. But it's rough when you know your parents are looking at you and morally judging you and think that you're morally wrong for performing a character or doing something that's satirical or humor. It's like, it's like I was out there robbing orphanages or something. I don't know. I'm just a performer. We can't judge our characters, and we can't, and by the way, I like funny, off-putting humor, but there are things, in Family Guy that I found offensive, but that's the nature of the show.
All right, Eric, next question.
Well, and, I get that as being part of it. I'd been in a discussion once years ago, and an actor had talked about playing roles. And of course, the family dynamic, just like you're talking about, right? And his was, I've got to play that role to that character so as to convey it, not because that's who I am as a person, but because that's what the character is, and I would be robbing it, and it wouldn't have the impact if I just tried to have to, I don't want to do anything halfway, right? So if that's right, and that's why people love watching you, is because you do become that character, and a lot of time it's funny, right? I mean, Seinfeld's funny, Family Guy's funny. So when did you tell us about and I want to talk about some of the, philanthropy and philanthropic things that you do. Absolutely, because that's a big part of today's call. But before we jump into that, what would you say was your big break in acting? Like what would you say was your catapult?
Well, the first great opportunity I got was to do that episode of Seinfeld. But before that, and what kind of paved the way to that was I was trying to just find my way, in my mid-20s there, and Hollywood was just I'd be, trying to get a gig, and I found that my best opportunity seemed to be when I would go in and just read for a guest spot for a sitcom. I think oftentimes when you go in just to read for, the guy who's fixing the dishwasher, like on a show like Dave's World with Harry Anderson, it's just a one-time character, and they probably don't have their expectations too high, but if you can go in a room and make them laugh and bring some character to it, they're like, this is the guy. And so I would do these things, do a guest spot and then get invited back. So I did an episode of a show called Anything But Love with Richard Lewis and Jamie Lee Curtis. Then I did a guest spot on Ellen DeGeneres' sitcom, and then they had me come back on that. Then I did an episode of Dave's World, and they decided to make me a series regular on that. And that's when, I did that episode of Seinfeld. One of the frustrating things is that then they Putty was supposed to be one episode, but they liked the character that brought there, and they wanted me to come back. And so over the course of the next 2 years, I was getting calls from Seinfeld inquiring about availability, and I couldn't because it was on a CBS show, that was on Friday nights. We were 70th in the ratings, and it was very frustrating because when you got Seinfeld calling and you can't do it because you're on a family show that's buried on a Friday night, that was a little frustrating. But I did enjoy working on Dave's World and the cast and everybody on the show, and they're still friends to this day. But that was a frustrating experience. That's where I got my first opportunities, though, were in sitcom. So specifically, the best thing that was most high profile was obviously Seinfeld, but it was because I had been doing other sitcoms at that point.
That guest appearance, and got many people use that because Seinfeld continues to play 5 days a week, syndication everywhere, is something that really helps you continue your brand to keep as relevant in so many ways and really understand and remember you from that. And it helps so much of the syndication of Seinfeld, right? For your career moving forward after that.
It does. And, it's something I've been so strongly identified with throughout my career. So it's always, the things that mean the most to me are whenever I get opportunities to do things and you get to reinvent yourself, redefine yourself, because you do become very identifiable with certain characters. And I would hazard to say I'll never do anything as high profile as Seinfeld. But that's why I love doing, indies, jumping in and doing something that's, outside of anything I've ever done before. That to me is the most fun,
It is because you're getting to create that character, have that freedom, and you never know if that indie is going to explode and become something huge. Never know with the way this industry is changing. Yeah,
that's true. But you don't usually you always look at things as I look at them, I guess at times in roles as something more immediate, and then at a certain point, if things are all coming together, you can't help but think of the potential of a project like, well, this could open some eyes, and this could go somewhere, because I think it's very cleverly written. It's all on the page. It really is. Because you can take 5 Academy Award winning actors and give them a mediocre script and it'll be a cruddy movie. But you can take a bunch of unknown actors with a really good script and make, the movie of the year. And that happens all the time. It really does, or like I didn't know who any of these people were, but what a great movie, and who would have thunk? Material and being able to acquire really good material on the page, that's the rarity. If you're looking for a good, independent movie script, the good ones go, they get picked up.
Yep, for sure. And that's why you love that craft. All right, Eric, next question for Patrick.
Okay, so one that came up as we were talking. So funny enough, my son, 16-year-old son, literally watches Seinfeld every day. He comes home, he turns on an episode, he watches one or two, and then he does his homework. So that's his show. And it's old. I think he's watched the whole series a couple times now.
Yeah.
So in today's time of, coronavirus and toilet paper shortages, lots and lots of funny memes online. One stood out that was talking about, there's pros and there's cons and there's funny and there's all this, but we have an opportunity right now to just really invest in our family as we're home. And you mentioned earlier, investing in your family, right? That's really what it comes down to. So, what ideas or encouragement would you have for folks that are stuck at home right now of just a way that they can invest, or that you may have done? Or
well, fortunately, we've got my 4 kids. They're all grown now. Is Talon, he's 27, Lexi's 26, Shane is 21, and Gabriel's 19. And then and then they got their significant others. So we've had, in hunkering down and in being socially keeping ourselves isolated, we still have a relatively large group here. There's maybe 8 or 9 of us.
Right.
And we're all here. Yeah. Yeah. But everybody's always gotten along really well. Lexi and her brothers, they've all loved each other and been supportive. And so everybody's not going crazy under the roof, which is a good thing. But, it's just spending time together, hanging out, playing games, or going out for a walk in the neighborhood and getting some air and watching movies. But it is something where everybody normally just goes their own ways, and we just we sort of just cross paths. And so I think that maybe someday there'll be ways that we look back almost fondly at these times when we were all together. We spent all this time together. I really I just feel like you gotta look at these things as positively as you can, because good always comes out of these things. It's hard to see that when it's a scary situation or something somewhat out of our control. But I try to keep everyone we'll just have another great day under this roof and bond some more. But we have hope and medicine today and everything that's going on out there, that ultimately it all comes together, because the human effort out there is so grand. It's like it's unstoppable.
It is.
When we get something like this, it's like, hey, they were already able to identify the DNA on this thing and break it down. And we just, we move faster than we used to. So there are certain timelines. And I'll yap. But I just feel like, it really is about optimism and making the most out of situations like this. And just knowing that, too, it's like, it's always darkest when you're going into that tunnel. It's like, we just went into the tunnel, it's like, hold on, everybody. We see how these things take their course, and in a relatively short period of time, we'll start seeing the numbers go down, and everything will start getting really positive again,
And that's where our hope is, and I think that's a great point. Motivational speaker as well, Patrick Warburton. We'll have to look at that and add that to your resume if you're having to go out and do those talks, or you're going to have to do what I've told everyone that's in the industries as a digital marketing and branding expert, Patrick, that we all need to go digital. We all need to go online, even though actors at times don't want to, and other entertainers or different places where they do at times. If we're all hunkering down in a specific space for the next, who knows how many weeks, we have to learn that and do it, right, Patrick? We're going to have to learn new things that, maybe my publicist did that, or my assistant did that. But we now, if we have not learned these things, need to learn them more, because it could be the new normal, even when things get normal again, because people are going to get used to this way of interacting and seeing that we can accomplish more things and be home with our families and stuff. That might be hope from that.
Yeah, definitely a very progressive aspect and outcome of all this. Yeah.
All right, Eric, I know you want to talk philanthropic now, so go ahead and ask that question to Eric. To Patrick about his philanthropic work.
I did. So one final comment on the other before we go into the philanthropic is, as a parent, especially with a 16-year-old and almost 15, right? I see that sunset coming where they're almost out of the house, right? There's a lot of parents that feel the same way. Your kids are either out completely, or maybe your 19-year-old still around some, but I'm guessing you don't have them all under the same roof consistently. Maybe you do. If so, if there's a secret, I'd love to know it.
Yeah, well, we don't, but we, nobody's too far. The one who's been away for a while has been Shane, because he's been at American in DC. But he's it's been great having him home, and it is fun seeing all the kids just wrestling and having fun, and how they so much enjoy spending time together, because they really are. We're lucky, but they're really more than siblings. They really are a great team and best friends. And so it's been always, great to see them like this. But we really, we know that we're not going to have them all together for long. So it's, for us, that's why we kind of see it, is that one of the blessings in all of this is that we got everybody together, and who knows when, in the rest of these lives, because they're all going in their different directions, we'll ever get that again, so. Right.
Creating those opportunities and realizing the blessing that right now, we could stress out about, what we don't know, what we can't control, what may happen in the future, but what we do have today is we're surrounded by our family, 99% of us. And it's like, man, let's make a great memory. Now, in addition to investing in family, you're really invested in St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Now, you just raised $3.6 million recently for them. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well,
it's awesome, by the way.
I guess my wife and I hosted what might have been the last great gathering of over 1,000 people in this country before the hammer came down. Because we started on Wednesday, March 5th, with people flying out from all over the country. And it essentially went from that Wednesday through that Sunday. By Sunday, as we are having the award ceremony for the golf tournament under a tent, and now we probably got this. At that point, a lot of people have gone off, but we still probably have 300-400 people there. We're getting word while we're there handing awards that, the tennis tournament out there in Coachella Valley is getting canceled. Coachella's probably getting canceled. Yeah. Everything's rolling in, and we're like, I can't believe. You talk about getting in right under the wire. Now, there's the blessing and the curse of that is that, we all go home. And then my wife and I, while we were sort of like in a self-quarantine and have been since the event, which was a week and a half ago, just feel like we're waiting for the ball to drop. It's like, well, if this is what's going on right now, how is it that, we weren't exposed? We literally had face-to-face with over 1,000 people. Over the course of 4 days, that's not hyperbole. That's exactly what the case is. But I do remember that, on Wednesday night, which was or Thursday night, which should have been the 6th of Thursday, at our songwriters night, I had, I looked out at about 400 or 500 people and just said, hey, I'm not shaking anybody's hands, and it's not, you're gonna get the elbow or the fist bump, not the warmest, but please trust me, I think we have to do what we can to mitigate. But, and keep in mind, this is only like, a couple of weekends ago.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, every golf group that came through, because we all do the team pictures on a hole. I get like 30 groups of 5 people, every 7 minutes or so. Half the guys are still walking up to shake hands, and
Right.
I'm putting my fist bump out, and most of them are like, "Oh, that's right, we're doing this," and a couple of them would be like, "Oh, we're doing that, huh?" And then I go, "Yeah, of course we're doing that. Let me explain. Let me ask you a question. Do you want me to shake 1,000 hands all day long? Shake your hand, and then you're going to go over there and eat a slider or a piece of pizza? You don't want that, do you?" And they're like, "Yeah. But it's having to turn around older guys, because you imagine a lot of these guys, everybody's between the ages of like 50 and 75, and they've been shaking
Right.
hands their whole life. Like, this is not being a germaphobe. This is just common sense. Listen to doctors, and it's really not a sanitary habit. So you don't want to shake my hand, and you don't want to touch your face. But I know we're talking about philanthropy, but it was a big combination between philanthropy and us just getting under the wire this year.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe that we raised $3.6 million, which was $1 million better than our record of
Wow.
2.6. But we have raised over $15 million now for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and it is for maybe 5 years now the number one tournament event in the nation for St. Jude. So it's been great. We're very proud of it, but it's not. I'm personally not responsible for the success of this event. Such a small part. We have a great board, and I got this gentleman, Clark Rainey, who I knew, to be the chairman. And so the best thing and the smartest thing I did was get somebody to run the show and turn it into the success that it is. And I got to give it all up to Clark, he was the chairman for the Bob Hope out in the desert, and he had his own background with Memphis growing up and doing some volunteer work at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So in the realm of philanthropy, I would always suggest, it's never to bite off more than you can chew, and get the best people around you working around you. It's like the president, it's like if you could fill up with great advisors and great people around you, and you just listen to everybody, then you'll come across better. You can come across better than you are, because you're surrounded by experts. I got a board in Clark who they work tirelessly all year long, and they've made the Warburton what it is. So
that's an impressive story, and to do something
Yes.
like that, you had a lot of pretty interesting celebrities with you, right? That were at the golf tournament, right? Who else was there?
Well, we're a very, very music oriented. We have this huge concert on Friday night, which is awesome. And there's only 1,000 people allowed in the building. So that's pretty small for a concert where you might have 8 or 9 rock and roll Hall of Fame artists. I mean, one year we went 5 hours. The last guy to get on stage was Stephen Stills at 1:00 in the morning.
Wow.
That's when we were going a little long, but we've had everybody from, Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon and Huey Lewis to Don Felder. We got Tom Johnson from the Doobie Brothers, Alice Cooper, Robbie Krieger from the Doors. We had Michael McDonald, Toby Keith, my buddy John Elefante, the lead singer of Kansas, Mickey Thomas from Jefferson Airplane. I mean, just everybody rolls through. So we'll have a 4-hour concert, and there's this amazing band, Six Wire, out of Nashville, and they go on the road with a lot of these guys now, and they're just constantly playing with legends, because throughout the first few years, a lot of these guys would get up and then they turn around and go, "This band's better than my band." And now a lot of them are playing with the Six Wire. So a lot of really good people that helped out in the beginning, and have been there from the start, are all sort of reaping the benefits of this. Like Six Wire, you can't stop them now. They're touring with everybody. They're nonstop. They're not touring right now, but
Right.
but up until as of recent.
Well, I appreciate, Patrick. I know that Eric has one more question for you, but I appreciate you taking as much time to come on, and great work for sure. Eric, last question for Patrick before we have to let him go and get in a cocoon and make sure that he does not get the coronavirus. Go ahead, Eric.
Absolutely. Patrick, man, I greatly appreciate your time. We actually, I concur completely about having advisors and using a team. That's, that is what we do as a business, right? Which is safe money and retirement planning. So, but my final question for you, comes back to kind of wrapping up everything we talked about today, right? The philanthropy, especially in times of coronavirus and the economy, and there's just so much uncertainty. And honestly, there's fear and anxiety. But there's something we can all give, and we can all make the choice to do, and that's to pay it forward and to give back and be an encouragement. So what would be your word of encouragement to others in today's economy?
Well, with everybody, I just think, everything, we always see everything turn around. I think we can all be instrumental in a piece and make things turn around even quicker than they normally would. But just to there's no time for panicking. You got to look at the timeline. Everybody, I think, at times gets wrapped up in the immediacy of something and just says, it's like, the sky is falling and we're running around like chickens with their heads cut off. It's like, that's not the case. If you look at what's going on today, we're all doing what we can right now to mitigate something. And we know from experience that will work. So what everybody has to do is still remember that we're all here together, and we're all here together. We got to support each other. And so in the realm of business, commerce, and just humanity, I think we can't, we're somewhat, physically and socially isolated, but there are things that we can do in regards to, seeing if somebody needs some help, if, you can safely go out and perhaps run an errand and bring some groceries to somebody. I'm not good with actual, economy, but, from that standpoint, if everybody just keeps a cool head, I think we're all going to be just fine.
Exactly. We've gone through harder times in our history. But we have all been very lucky that we haven't gone through it, the three people on the call, ever in our lives like today. But again, we'll be telling that to our grandkids, hopefully, for sure. And telling them, hey, we lived through this. You can make it through. You can make it through. You're complaining about you're not being able to go to the moon. I'm sorry. Well, guess what? Well, we had to deal with as kids, as adults, and for our children, but for sure. Patrick, is there a website we can connect with you? Where's the best place we can connect with you, learn about all your current projects and stuff? Where can we go?
I have a website. I mean, we have there's a website for the St. Jude event, which is thewarburton.com, but I am on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter, and I don't use them an awful lot, but that's pretty much it. What else? You guys are pros. What should I have?
See, I'm the pro. So you're on Twitter and Instagram. Well, I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, Facebook is another place, but really, you should utilize Instagram and Twitter more for yourself. Come and go and get some videos. Try to do something that could get you go viral, like we've seen a couple of the celebrities do during the coronavirus, and especially tell your story at home. That will really connect people and give your fans something to talk about, especially when they're all online. That would be my advice for you, for sure.
Right, because you've got a great story. And I think the bottom line is just, we can't control everything, but time with family, I mean, that was the takeaway for me. And it really is a huge takeaway. Like, we've got a great opportunity. Your kids may not be around every day anymore, but they are today. Yeah. So focus on the positive, man. If there's nothing else.
Yeah. Go online with what your positivity is, Patrick, and it will go viral, especially with other celebrities being not as genuine as you are, Patrick. So that's really the thing I gathered from talking to you today.
Oh, well, and you. So thank you, Neil and Eric. Really been great.
All right. Take care, Eric. Appreciate it. And take care, Patrick. You. Thanks again for coming on.
Take care, guys.
See you guys. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye. You're listening to Neil Haley Show. We'll be back in just a moment. Hi, everyone. And we're back to the Neil Haley Show on the Caregiver Dave celebrity segment. I'm excited to welcome to the program Caregiver Dave. Dave, how are you? Coronavirus week. I guess everyone's going to be. The good news is that we have great guests. We'll talk specific stuff, but we really want to tell stories. because if we continue to always talk about this virus, it won't be historical anymore. We won't be considering it in wartime. We want to live like we're fine. So in 2 weeks when there's no power, and I'll still try to do shows with a generator, right? We'll keep going regardless, because we're just going day by day, aren't we, Dave?
Just like London when the bombs are falling all around them and the sirens are going off.
I'll still be doing radio when that happens. Okay?
Yep.
Exactly. And if we're in a bubble, like in Seinfeld, we'll be in a bubble. But we'll still be doing radio. All right, so introduce our guest, and it's always interesting to talk to someone that has reached the highest pinnacle in sports, which is an Olympian. So introduce our guest.
Melinda Harrison. Melinda's a certified coach, Olympian, published author. Her professional passion is helping clients, helps them to navigate the arcs of success, searching for and defining a next that works for them, and then supporting those pathways to achievement. She helps her clients embrace both the process of success along with the inevitable challenges that achievement brings. And that's today. You're talking today. And congratulations, Melinda, for taking your previous fame as an Olympian and turning it into something that's relevant and current and that you can actually make money at. Good for you.
Thank you. And I think go ahead.
We're just going to say welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I think it's really important to talk a little bit about, why am I even talking to you two from Toronto, because I had to leave the U.S., unfortunately, before they closed the borders.
Sorry about that.
I can't wait to come back. But, this is the coronavirus is something that just came on us. I mean, obviously we knew it was happening in China, but I don't think people really related to the consequences of that. And there's serious consequences. And, the news shows are full of that day in and day out. My passion in our conversation today is really about what is the snowballing effect of the virus on people, specifically athletes. I'm very concerned about them. And, how did I even become knowledgeable on this topic?
Well, like you said, we had no idea that China was so enveloped. Our leaders just weaved us into China. They control all of our antibiotics and drugs, and now they're using it as a weapon, threatening us to, be surrounded by the jungle of corona, or however they worded it. And now we're not allowed to say that the coronavirus came from the city that it came from. Give me a break. But that's another topic. Go ahead and tell us what you were going to say.
So that is another topipic. And being a Canadian, I'm much nicer.
Don't get me started.
I won't. So, it was 2013. 2012, 2013 was a horrible year for me. I lost my dad to cancer.
Oh.
My daughter, my last child, went off to university. And then one of our neighbors and fellow Olympians, somebody I knew, I wouldn't call him a really good friend, he died by suicide. And I kind of sat back and went like, why would he do that? He appeared to have all the success surrounding him. And, eventually that led me to the, how can I help? Being an executive coach, being an Olympian, somebody that was deeply passionate about helping athletes.
Yeah.
And so I actually wrote down on a piece of paper in a meditation weekend, if I interviewed 100 people that had succeeded at leaving high performance, most of them were athletes, what would I learn from those 100 people, and how could I pass that information on to them? And that is how this book came about.
Well, I'm going to take a question. The interesting thing when you talked about this, Melinda, is the fact of the matter of your concern right now with athletes. And I think I have a feeling I know what the thing is. You're not just thinking of the top professional athletes that aren't playing right now. You're thinking of all athletes in general that are dealing with the coronavirus, how they, have to train differently, how they're not able to perform in front of an audience, and when are they going to compete again? That's got to be a big concern, especially in your coaching and everything, for high performance people, where they can't highly perform right now because we're all stuck in this bubble that we can't do anything.
We're inside,
Yeah,
basically.
did they talk about canceling it, Neil? I think what city was it going to be in?
No, we're not talking in Tokyo.
And I think,
Tokyo.
so
Yeah.
I think the point is really well made in that the, transition and loss and happens to every athlete that commits to sport. So that is your high school athlete that is a senior right now and isn't going to make a college NCAA team. It's also your high school athlete that was trying to make a NCAA team and their season was cut short. So the coach doesn't know, the college coach doesn't know the type of performer he or she is. And it happens to the college athlete that, was training for their major season end competition. They're not good enough to be on the national team or an Olympic team, but they still train and work as hard as every other athlete out there. And then of course you have your Olympians that cycle around a 4-year cycle. Their training and competition cycle around this 4 years. And all of a sudden that 4 years it could be 5, it could be 4.5, it might be 4.
Yeah.
Who knows? And then you have your pro players that are so used to being involved and in the spotlight and out there. And I mean, they can't be out there. They're quarantined. So,
right. I mean, I just feel I couldn't imagine. I mean, I'm an athlete in 2 different levels where I'm seeing athletes suffering from this. And I'm going to let Dave get to the next question. First of all, my career in college basketball and in basketball, I couldn't imagine not performing in basketball, especially during March Madness if I was going to play in March Madness, or even, let's just say, have the chance to go to the States or conference championships and not be able to play because of the coronavirus. I couldn't. And then especially then thinking about your next year in college and the recruiting class not being able to see you, or in professional wrestling where I was for 9 years in the minor leagues, to have events canceled every weekend where I'm trying to go out and get discovered to make it to the big time.
Right.
Those areas where and then the training that's involved, Dave, that's lost. Because of the coronavirus, that you need high performance training facilities. It's very hard to train on your own, especially this time. Melinda and I probably could train better individually by ourselves than kids today that have performance coaches and have different training facilities, and they're pushing them to do it. And now they don't go anywhere. So they're going to suffer through those things, Dave.
Absolutely. I'm not Dave, but I agree. Absolutely.
I was just trying to send it back to Dave, as Dave's not the athlete like myself, but Dave is high performing entrepreneur. So Dave, can you imagine taking the stage away from you in so many ways?
You know what we're talking about? You know what we're talking about here, Neil and Melissa? It's the grief process. Anytime we suffer loss, we go through grief. Right. And a lot of people don't even know what the grief process is or the stages of grief. But, the first one is denial. Oh, my God, this isn't happening. What's going on, And hopefully they get out of that, or they become delusional. And then it's bargaining. How can I negotiate my way out of this, And then it's anger, and then it's depression. And then, we finally come to the new normal. And you've certainly gone through your grief. And that's why you came to your why, your dad's cancer, your empty nest syndrome with your daughter leaving you, and then your friend's suicide. My gosh, did you know you were grieving when all of this stuff was going on, and that you were going through like your own midlife crisis?
I think I probably was. I was turning 50, and I think I probably
add
was.
Add that to the list. Yeah.
Add that to the list, right? So, I think realistically, I was at a point in my life where I had a lot of flexibility, and I could set a big hairy goal, like go find 100 people that had done this. And I mean, I was terrified to make those first few phone calls. But every single person I talked to said, yes, this is an issue. Yes, we need to talk about this. And, that grieving process is a wonderful way to frame it so that other people can understand it. But, it's we talk about our kids today, and our kids today are different than I was back in 1979, 80. You know,
I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast we can do another time.
Oh yeah. A whole nother radio show. Yeah. A whole nother topic for sure.
But, you know, I think that we need to recognize that our children's dreams are formed by other people early in their childhood. And so they might have an aptitude for basketball or hockey or swimming or skating, but somebody drove that decision to put them in it early in their childhood. And so they become pulled along by a system that they love because they're getting recognized and they're performing. But when that system collapses, which is what is happening right now.
Oh, I could imagine. I mean,
their self-esteem, their self-worth crashes.
I mean, to think about certain schools that couldn't go to March Madness. Right. Those kids that were seniors that cannot play, women and men that cannot play. And then for college athletes that their spring season was canceled. One of the reasons a lot of these kids, because their maturity level is that, and this is such a great topic, Melinda, it really is. I'm understanding it more and more that I thought of these things, but I feel it as an entrepreneur. I hit that thing, and I think everyone has that feeling, but for athletes and kids where they're so structured and scheduled, and we're going to take away everything. Even the pro athletes, I feel for them as well, especially in the NBA and Major League Baseball, where, they're still getting paid, right? They're doing this, but they're having this downtime. Really, what to do next? And will these things happen again? Pro wrestling, the WWE and AEW, the two big pro wrestling organizations, are wrestling in front of no fans. Right. I mean, this is just a totally different environment for an athlete. So I'm going to pinpoint it back to another question for Dave, but I think that you have such a great topic in this process. And Dave, go ahead and ask the next question.
Well, I was just going to ask, do you think it's a possibility? Because everyone's doing everything online now, right? School's online. I was going to go to the National Publicity Summit. They're going to do that online. Can we actually do the Olympic Games online so that there's no audience? I mean, they can do a presidential debate online.
I don't think so.
Is that a possibility?
We don't figure that out. The only way we could talk about is like in front of a no audience, right, Melinda? I don't think ever athletes can compete online.
Well,
they'll just be with each other.
Yeah.
And there's no audience to.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm not a fan. Like, if they can't run the Olympics the way that it's set up to be run, then they should safely and ensure the participation of all of the officials, all of the athletes, all of the support staff, and then on top of that, all of the fans. Then they probably shouldn't run them. And, you know, that's not the lane that I play in. So I'm coming from an athlete perspective.
Sure.
That if I had spent 4 years trying to make an Olympic team, and all of a sudden they're telling me, well, you can go to Tokyo. I don't know what they would do with all the support people, because that's crowding people. Sure. I don't know what they would do with all the people that, you know, live in the dorms in the village. That's, you know, not social distancing. Yeah. So my opinion is, if they can't run them safely and fairly, and I'm going to point out the fairness, I have talked to more people saying they can't train anywhere. So for swimming, for example, you need a swimming pool. There are no swimming pools, or very, very few swimming pools that are open. And so you might have, you know, an Olympic training center, or you might have a private pool, but that's few and far between. So if they are thinking of naming a team in swimming based on the top 2 U.S. athletes or Canadian athletes, that is a significant disadvantage to anybody that can't train right now. And so it has to be fair for these kids. These kids have put their heart and soul in it from day one, back when they were 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah. You know, we don't know how long this is going to last. That's the problem. And
it's going to last 2 weeks, please, Dave. Please, Dave, 2 weeks. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
2 weeks.
But I wouldn't be surprised if baseball or football started doing that, just because, you know, it's a $1 billion industry. And it's all about, as someone said, the Benjamins. Okay, we won't go there either.
But see, here's the consideration I didn't think about. We thought this is an old person's virus. Sorry, Dave.
Right.
And it's not. And now that the highest percentage came out of Fox News today, the highest percentage of coronavirus in the United States that's hospitalized is between 22 and 40. So really,
that's because they're not being careful, and yet they usually have an elderly person at home. So that's the connection. I've got elderly people who I have a gas station, and my young employees have an elderly person at home, and if they get sick, they're going to get sick.
Right.
Dave, but these are hospitalization. This is not self-quarantine. These younger people are suffering as much from the virus, and that's where we put our hands up. Now, I agree with you, Dave. If you decide to have no audience, I'm not shocked that pro wrestling is willing to share germs and still have all those people and do it, because guess what? Vince McMahon could care less about his athletes. So I'm not surprised pro wrestling, especially being in that industry, is at least going with no audience so they don't get sued. But they know that the wrestlers aren't going to sue each other for someone contracting coronavirus. However, when you talk about athletes that are paid well as baseball, NHL, and also football, the NBA, we're just talking about the three that are right now.
Or soccer.
Or soccer. But these three major, they don't want any lawsuits, and they don't want to see their players get injured or sick. So really, no audience is going to be no option at all, because Melinda, right, we can contract it still. So the pain you feel right now, Melinda, that as an athlete, for these kids and adults that can't perform, it's got to really hurt you.
Right. And then, you know, I mean, if you think about the athletes that make the millions, they still need meaning in their life. They need to have a purpose. So the millions don't matter anymore for the successful basketball, soccer, baseball player. Football is a slightly different story, because, you know, the young NFL football players, you know, they don't start out making a lot of money, but they still need meaning in their life. And
yes, they do.
And when everything collapses, that meaning disappears. But there's something else that disappears. And I think this is something that I don't think a lot of people talk about. Comparison, judgment, and pleasing. So athletes have been brought up in this environment of comparison. You're on the team, you're off the team. When sports disappears, there's no more comparison. And the comparison gets into far greater things than you're on the team. You have more likes on social media. You know, that was the best, you know, you hit the most number of baskets. It's a part of their DNA.
Exactly.
And they don't think about that. They don't think that it's gone. The second one. Sorry,
and you know, this isn't the only time that this has happened. Olympics have been canceled before. I'm thinking of the Germany bombing, you know, Mark Spitz, and and also 1940 in Japan when they
80 in Russia, where they boycotted the Olympics in 80.
I was part of that.
Kids were going through the same thing.
Oh, you were part of that. Okay, so.
How do you do? For human beings, it's natural to want a sense of belonging. That comes easy to those with a stable family or community. The young woman in our story didn't have that. She felt abandoned from a young age and lost hope of finding connection, until a voice called to her in the darkness, and her heart and mind and life were unshackled.
Hey, you're new at school, right? My name's Kim.
Nice to meet you. I'm Jess. I've seen you.
In the mall. I wait tables at that hot wing place.
Oh.
Yeah, what a dump, right?
I like their fries.
Hey, did you get a drink? We have wine coolers and harder stuff.
I don't drink.
Ha, funny. How about a whiskey soda? Wait, you're not joking, are you?
Nope.
How can you have fun at a party without drinking?
I just don't need it.
If you say so. I just finished a week of back-to-back school and work, and I'm gonna have fun. I'm going for a smoke. Grab a drink and join me if you change your mind. Or realize the error of your ways.
This is Unshackled, dramatizing true life stories produced in Chicago by Pacific Garden Mission. People are homeless for many reasons, but most guests at the mission share one thing in common: a sense of being rejected from their families and society. Facing rejection and cruelty are regular parts of their daily routines, until they walk through our doors. Once inside, all guests are greeted by staff members as equals. They receive nourishing meals, fresh clothing, hot showers, and a safe bunk to spend the night. But meeting one's physical needs isn't enough to change their lives long term. That's why staff members speak to each guest individually to get to the root of the unique reasons that led them to us. They're invited to participate in rehabilitative programs that teach skills they can use to succeed in their jobs and home lives. All resources and programs come free of charge, thanks to generous donations from listening friends like you. Now for broadcast around the earth, here is program number 3608 in the series Unshackled, a program that makes you face yourself and think. The young woman in our story was separated from her father and moved from one town to another, never getting a chance to plant her roots. This led to a struggle to find her identity and purpose in life. She almost gave up. You'll share in her amazing discovery as we bring you the true story of Kim Bond, right now on Unshackled.
My parents divorced shortly after my birth in 1974. My mother, my brother Chris, and I lived in an apartment above my great-grandmother. We were all very close. I cherished my happy life going to public school with the neighborhood children and playing with them after class. Then, my mother decided to put me in a Christian school to get a better education. That changed everything.
Kim, can you come to my desk? I need to speak with you.
Yes?
I'd like to talk about your religion homework. It looks like you've been making the answers up instead of finding them in your reading.
I looked through our American history textbook, and I couldn't find anything.
Well, your homework assignment was about Moses, not American history.
Then where am I supposed to find the answers?
In the Bible, of course.
I didn't know that. I'm new here. All the other kids know what to do, and they know each other. It's easy for them.
Well, I'm sure you'll catch up. Now, why don't you go home and ask your mom and dad about the Bible?
I don't live with my dad.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Well, ask someone at home to explain.
My mother's generation didn't speak about money, politics, or religion, so I didn't hear many Bible stories at home, and she rarely went to church. Mom believed in God, though, and taught us to memorize a prayer to say before bedtime. great-grandmother had a photo of Jesus on her refrigerator.
This is the pizza joint we order from. This magnet here is our car repair place. And of course, that's Jesus.
Why is he wearing a weird hat?
Oh, that's actually a halo.
What's that?
Well, a halo is a circle of light that surrounds the head of a holy person.
Does that really happen?
No, but it's symbolic of their goodness and light. Jesus gave his life so that we can live with him in heaven.
He looks just like a regular person, except for his heart. Why is it so big?
That's one of the things that makes Jesus so special. His heart looks different because he's so full of love for us.
I nodded in agreement, but I really didn't understand what she meant by that. I wore a gold cross around my neck like everyone else in class, but I had no idea what it represented. I dreaded going to school, and I certainly wasn't prepared for the greater challenges that lay ahead.
Why don't we ever have anything good to eat around here?
Oh, we can't afford it, honey.
I can't wait for the weekend. Dad always takes us out for pizza, and we play arcade games, and we go to movies.
He only has you 1 day a week. You have no idea the amount of sacrifice it takes to provide for you and your brother the rest of the week.
Sorry, Mom.
I'm afraid you'll be seeing less of him soon. I'm transferring to a job in Atlanta.
What? Warm weather? Here I come.
Well, your brother isn't so thrilled.
Does that mean I can go back to public school?
Yes, you'll have to take the school bus because I will have a longer commute.
Woohoo!
Just be sure to give big farewell hugs to your great-grandmother and dad since we will hardly ever see them.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe we can come back and visit them on our school breaks.
I wouldn't count on frequent visits. None of us are rich, you know.
Mom was right. We rarely saw Dad after the move. In fact, my family moved around so much I couldn't make and keep any good friends. My father remarried again to a woman with a young son. I began to feel like a burden to my own family, and I didn't seem to fit in anywhere I went.
Kim, I'm going to church this morning. Would you like to join me?
No thanks, Grammy. I'd rather sleep in.
Oh, I wish you would come.
It used to be fun when I was a kid, but nobody else goes. It's just a bunch of old people. Sorry. I just want to go back to bed.
My thoughts grew darker once I entered my teen years. With no sense of belonging or purpose, I questioned my own value. What am I doing? I haven't even started my homework. Then again, what's the point? Get good grades so I can just someday sit at a boring desk job for the rest of my life? Get married, get divorced, and die alone. I wish I had a gun so I could just get it over with right now. Since I didn't get any validation at home, I found what I thought I needed in my first boyfriend, David. As our relationship grew more intense, I forgot about suicide. My world and my thoughts centered completely around him.
Kim, we've been seeing each other for a month already. I want to show you how much I love you.
I love you too, David.
And don't you trust me?
Of course I do. I'm just scared.
There's nothing to be afraid of. I love you, Kim. I'll always love you. The last thing I want to do is hurt you.
David and I slept together that night. After that, our relationship slowly changed for the worse. David, do you have to work this weekend?
Yep. And after work, I'm hanging out with some of the other employees.
Well, can I come? I'm sure they won't mind if your longtime girlfriend comes along.
Maybe not, but I would. Kim, I'm interested in someone else.
A coworker?
Yes. I'm sorry.
So you want to break up?
Yeah.
You deserve that.
I know. So long, Kim. It was fun.
I couldn't stop crying. After my breakup with David, all the dark thoughts I had before returned. I thought that keeping busy would be a good distraction, so I started working 2 part-time jobs on top of my regular schoolwork. When the stress became too much, I turned to cigarettes, marijuana, and hallucinogenic drugs. To keep my grades up, I only partied on the weekends.
Hey, Kim. I was looking for you.
Hey, Shane. I needed to get some fresh air.
It's not too fresh with all the smoke.
You're corny. Hey, speaking of corny, did you meet that new girl?
I don't think so. Who?
Her name's Jess. She's like, I don't need to smoke and drink to have a good time. I personally don't see how that is possible.
Oh.
I mean, it's a party. What's the point of going to a party if you're not going to drink or get high?
Maybe I'll go introduce myself. Sounds like she and I might have something in common. Both of us can have fun at a party without getting drunk.
You too? Since when?
Well, that's what I came out here to talk to you about. I went to a concert last night. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah? What band did you see?
You probably haven't heard of them.
Whatever. You're too cool for me, Shane.
I mean, they're a Christian band.
Since when are you into Christian music?
Recently.
You're a Christian? You sure don't act like one.
Yeah, well, it's new. I got tired of not believing in anything. I had no direction in my life. So one night I asked God to give me a sign that he was real. Right then, I saw a shooting star fall across the night sky.
That's a pretty big coincidence, but it was only a coincidence.
Kim, I'd like to talk to you about something very important.
We'll hear the rest of Kim's story in just a moment. Here's the president of Pacific Garden Mission, Phil Kwiatkowski.
Thanks, Timothy. Like Kim, many women come to Pacific Garden Mission seeking a sense of belonging and community after a life of rejection. Mission resident Keone grew up surrounded by people, but she still felt lonely and misunderstood. She wanted the kind of relationship that would turn into a lifelong marriage, but she looked for love in all the wrong places, with the wrong types of men. Her mother knew that she deserved a better life and suggested that she come to Pacific Garden Mission. She says, I've been at Pacific Garden Mission now for almost a year. My relationship to God is more stable. I have been able to focus on Him more. When I gave my life to God and received Jesus as my Savior, it was like a weight lifted off my chest. With Christ's help, relationships and lives can be restored. We celebrate all the work God is doing in the hearts of those who serve and are served at Pacific Garden Mission. For more information about how you can help, write to us at Pacific Garden Mission, 1458 South Canal Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60607, or visit our website, unshackled.org. Our email address is unshackled@pgm.org.
Shane and I worked together at the restaurant in the mall. I felt comfortable around him, and at that time in my life, I needed a good friend. So I agreed to meet up and talk. But when we got together, it was just as I feared.
Kim, I've been reading my Bible.
Oh, here we go.
Hey, just listen for a minute. The Bible says that God has a plan for everyone. Have you ever wondered what his plan is for you?
No, Shane, I don't wonder, because the Bible is just some old book. Everything you're saying is a myth, a fairy tale.
Lots of people, smart people, believe the Bible's more than
You
just
mean people with easy lives. They might fall for it, but my life has been hard.
Jesus understands that. God sent Jesus to live on earth as a man, so he could understand how hard it is to resist temptation and do the right thing. For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
So all you have to do is believe, and then you'll go to heaven where everything is perfect. Doesn't that seem too good to be true?
The Bible doesn't say that a Christian's life will be perfect. Jesus led a humble life filled with suffering. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed.
No one could take all that abuse and keep his faith. Someone made all that up to scare people into doing the right thing.
Kim, just consider...
I'm glad your newfound faith is making you happy and all, but I'm just not interested.
I know it's a lot to think about. I'm glad you met up with me, Kim. Let me know if you ever want to get together again.
I was tired of hearing Shane talk about Jesus all the time, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings or make things awkward at work. After meeting with him for about a week, though, I had to tell him what I really thought. I couldn't say it to his face, so I sat down and wrote a letter. Dear Shane, as much as I enjoyed our time together, it always seems like you want to talk about Jesus. That's just not something we have in common. I don't want to meet up outside of work anymore, but I hope we can still be friendly. I know you feel confident in what you believe, but I know it isn't true. God does not exist. When I finished writing the letter, I stood up and walked to the kitchen. Suddenly, I experienced a voice tell me, God is real, and the Bible is truth. At that moment, I felt a pulse through my entire body. I felt like I was on fire. I had to sit down on the couch and process what was happening. It was undeniable. Something supernatural was occurring, and this skeptic could no longer deny it. My heart softened, and my mind opened, and I believed in Jesus. In that moment, I surrendered my life to him.
That's amazing, Kim. So now you are a sister in Christ.
I think so. I would like to be. But how can I be sure that I'm saved?
Making the decision to receive Christ is the hard part. Getting saved is easy. First, admit that you've sinned. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
I'm definitely a sinner.
Join the club. But that's why he sent his only Son, Jesus Christ, to deliver us from our sin and offer a path to salvation. Here, I keep this pocket Bible for just these moments. John 5:24. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me hath everlasting life.
Wow. So what's next? Do I do good things to make up for the bad?
No, you don't. Here, you read Ephesians 2:8 and 9.
For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast.
So doing good things doesn't make you a Christian.
So why do so many Christians run charities to help people in need?
Because when Christ is in your heart, it fills you with the desire to share his love with others. Here, this is my favorite. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new.
That explains why you've been so nice to me, putting up with my bad attitude for so long.
Not to mention keeping my cool with all those customers at the restaurant.
I started attending church with Shane and reading the Bible he gave me. I studied the Bible more than my schoolwork, but somehow my grades improved. Maybe because God took away my desire to do drugs and drink heavily. But things didn't change overnight. I still couldn't resist the urge to smoke cigarettes. The presence of the Lord was so thick in my new church that I longed to be there all the time. I met so many Christian friends that I was overwhelmed. The best friend I met was a girl my age named April.
Kim, your testimony is so inspiring. I think a lot of people would relate to it.
Thanks.
Are you thinking about going on that mission trip to Russia?
I don't think I'd be much help to them. I don't speak the language.
Oh, you don't have to. We're handing out supplies to people in need, like snacks and light bulbs. And we're going to act out a play about the Lord. We'll have translators with us to help. Think about it.
Surprisingly, the Russians and I had a lot in common. Many of them were atheists since the communist government forbid Christians from practicing their faith. In the late 90s, their socialist state was in shambles. I knew what it was like to live on a small income, and of course, I had been an atheist until recently. Despite our language barrier, sharing a similar background made it easy to connect with the young Russians. The police were a different story. They followed us around, suspicious of our American group. When we acted out our short play in a park, they almost arrested us for performing in public without a permit. But God was on our side. I returned to the United States with a better appreciation of the things we take for granted, like freedom of speech. When I was 25, I sensed God calling me back to St. Louis. I was able to reconnect with my dad, but I missed the family and friends I had left behind in Atlanta. To manage my loneliness, I slid back into partying. I didn't enjoy it like I used to. Plus, I still couldn't break my cigarette-smoking habit. I took comfort in Philippians 1:6. Being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. I knew that God would carry out his plan for me. Then I met Hank, a coworker at the restaurant where I waited tables.
Hey, Kim, what's your schedule like this week? I have off on Tuesday and Friday.
Oh, I have Friday off too for once.
You want to hang out?
I would love to.
Softball season's over, so maybe we can do something else. You shoot pool at all?
I haven't played for a while, but I'm sure I could take you.
Oh, challenge accepted.
After that night together, we became inseparable. Within the year, we were married, and I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Rachel. But soon after that blessing came tragedy.
Aunt Trudy.
I came here as fast as I could.
Oh, Kim, your father had a heart attack.
How was he doing?
Oh, honey, he's gone. He passed away moments before you walked through the door.
I took my father's hand. It was still warm. Then a clergy entered the room and said a prayer. Before the prayer was finished, my father's hand turned ice cold. At the funeral, my aunt told me that she knew he'd recently received Christ as his savior. I thanked God for calling me to move to St. Louis so our relationship could be restored before he passed away. Even though my father's heavy smoking habit shortened his life, I still could not bring myself to quit. 3 years later, I had a son, Henry, named after my husband. Asthma runs in my family, but poor Henry was allergic to everything. He took daily medications and went through a painful series of shots, but after 2.5 years, his breathing didn't improve.
The shots don't seem to be helping your son, so I recommend discontinuing them. We can increase his prescription medication to manage his symptoms long term.
We can't give up now. He only has 6 months to go. Can't we finish?
I'm afraid that's not in your son's best interests, Mrs. Bond.
Desperate, I cried out to God, begging him to intervene. Lord, please help my son. I can't tell when he needs a rescue inhaler to breathe, and he doesn't understand what's happening to him. I don't know what to do. I can't sleep at night. I'm constantly on edge. Please help him, Lord. We can't do this without you. Shortly after that, we returned to the doctor.
Mrs. Bond, I have some surprising but good news. Your son's breathing test results are normal.
You mean?
I mean, you can stop giving him medication for now, but keep an eye on him. Give me a call if his symptoms return. It really is quite remarkable. Not really sure how to explain it.
I think I do. That wasn't the last time God blessed my family with his healing power. When I was in my mid-30s, he delivered me from the thing I had been fighting with since my teen years.
Honey, what's wrong?
I don't know. I just haven't felt like myself since I started taking those meds to quit smoking.
Oh, that doesn't seem right. Why don't you try something else?
I've been trying to quit for almost 20 years now. If I stop taking these meds, I'll never quit. I know God does not want me to keep smoking for the rest of my life.
Honey, are you okay?
God, please help me. I can't breathe. Help me, God. My anxiety attacks stopped, and at the same time, the intense desire to smoke cigarettes was gone. I have not smoked a cigarette since that day 10 years ago. When I was 40, my boss announced his plans to retire. I'd been a dedicated employee for 15 years, so he gave me the chance to buy it. After buying it, I started working from home. That let me spend more time with my husband and children. Running a business is challenging, but the words in Jeremiah 29:11 give me comfort. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. When I get a break from work, I write poetry about the Lord and share it on my blog. My interest in poetry led me to start a small publication ministry for other authors. Each day, I praise God for the many ways He's transformed my life. Before, I had no faith or knowledge of the Bible. Now I lead others to Him. I once failed to respect my body, and I saw no purpose in my life. Now, I am free from addiction and able to love myself and others. God still hasn't finished writing the story of my life, but I know that whatever He has planned will bring me the greatest happiness in the end.
Through Jesus Christ, Kim found the direction she'd been missing. Listening friend, do you ever wonder about your life's meaning and purpose? Christ can help you find the way. If you'd like to surrender your life and trust in the Lord Jesus as your Savior, won't you pray with me now? Heavenly Father, I've been searching for direction, and I know I need your help to find the way. I'm sorry for my sins. Please come into my heart and wash them away. Show me how to be more like you. I believe in you. I trust you. Thank you for your sacrifice on the cross and for your precious promise of eternal life in heaven. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. If you need more information before making this life-changing decision, get in touch with us. When you do, we'll send you some free literature to further explain what it means to follow Jesus Christ. The address? Pacific Garden Mission, 1458 South Canal Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60607. You may also call 1-888-NEED-HIM. Our email address is unshackled@pgm.org. Visit our website to learn more about this ministry, unshackled.org. A listener from Trinidad and Tobago writes, I listen to your Unshackled program every morning on our local radio station, and it has provided me encouragement for my Christian walk with Jesus. A listener from Barbados writes, I've been listening for years, ever since I was able to listen on the radio in Barbados. This program has helped me in so many ways. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. If these true testimonies inspire you, contact your station manager and say, thanks for playing Unshackled. This is program number 3608. Heard in the true story of Kim Bond were Elizabeth Argus, Judith Easton, Allison Voller, Patrick Thompson, Bill Ronsky, and Merceda DeMonk. Original music, Don Badorf. Sound, Patrick D. Thompson. Sound assistant, Martin Robinson. Recording engineer, David Pierczynski. Sound engineer, Kim Rasmussen. Script, Chrissy Spallone. Direction by Michael Wollner. Unshackled is produced by Pacific Garden Mission to show through true stories that if your life is empty, it can be filled to overflowing. Please write today. Your letter means a great deal to us. The address? Pacific Garden Mission, 1458 South Canal Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60607. So, until next time, unless our Lord returns before then, I'm Timothy Gregory, reminding you that the doors to Pacific Garden Mission are open night and day. Thanks for listening, and may God bless you.
Streblow's Comedy Show. Live on the radio. It's Daren Streblow's Comedy Show. Live on the radio. Bringing you the funny from every nook and cranny. Sprinkling some crazy. The man, the myth, the legendary champion of something. It's Daren Streblow's Comedy Show. Live on the radio. It's Daren Streblow's Comedy Show. Live on the radio. So lock dial on this comedy file. Darren's your host from coast to coast. He's hilarious. The Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Yeah. Welcome back, my friend. Good to have you here. It's me, it's Daren, and wow, the world has gotten a little strange in the last week since we've been together. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? And you might be wondering, what are we going to talk about on the big show today? Considering, well, since there's so much news out there about all the hard stuff going on, I thought this could be just a comedy oasis, a little place to go and rest from all of that, you know. Just refresh yourself, enjoy yourself, laugh, and rejuvenate. That's the hope, anyway. So glad you're here. Let's get things started. This is from the Bananas television program. Here's Thor Ramsey on the Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
I don't know what your habits are. I'm a night sleeper. I love to sleep. Love it. Sleep. Love it. Love sleep. Love it. Love to sleep. Sleep. Love it. I love it. Sleep. Love it. Love to sleep, man. I have dreams about taking naps. I love to sleep. I'm one of these people, too. I have to have total silence, complete darkness, or I can't fall asleep at night. And I tell you something, you people who snore, you sandblasters of the night, you callers of the hogs, how do you people make these noises, these sounds? Like, where's this stuff come from? It's like you're laying there in a coma with the constant reminder, I'm asleep. You are not. I'm asleep. You are not. I'm asleep. You are not. Even the dogs are outside going, roll over! Roll over on your side! We're dogs and you're keeping us awake! They make special bandages for you people now. You know, just if you can't find those, just duct tape a brick to your nose or something. Just keep it flat and open for us. Help us out. And some of you sleep on your backs with your mouths open. You get that backward sucking, backward breathing, you know, which I never thought served a purpose till I noticed we never have to dust. You sleep in the other room, keep the whole house clean. Use your gift. If they're not snoring or backward breathing, they get a little trick here. However, this little trick is a little... What is that exactly? What are you, shifting gears in sleep? No. Wake up later, I'm up. Oh, man, I think I hit fifth gear on that one. 7 hours, 25 minutes. It's the fastest I've ever slept. Getting pretty good at this sleep thing, I tell you that. And this is what I've discovered to being married. You don't want to share a bed with a snorer, because then you got to race him to sleep. Oh, man, she beat me. Great. I get up and start banging stuff around to wake her up. Because you do not want to kick them or nudge them. You kick them or nudge them, they come back stronger somehow. It's like they sleep angry. I'm leaving. And she gets up in the morning, I didn't sleep all night. I got no sleep at all. And my wife, God bless her, she is one of these human alarm clocks. You know these human alarm clock people, they get up before you, they lean over you. Get up, sleepyhead. Come on, pumpkin. Rise and shine, Peachy. Come on, pumpkin. Get up, Peachy. I come from Dakota City, Nebraska. Dakota City, Nebraska, a town of 1,503 people, 25,437 German shepherds. It's my impression of Dakota City in the evening. Ho, 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 It's 2 in the morning. What is this dog so desperately trying to communicate at 2 in the morning? What's he out there saying? Help me, I'm trapped in the yard. I can't get out. Get me out. Out, 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 out. Shut up, dog. You ever actually open your window and yell at a dog? Shut up, dog. Like the dog's down there going, sorry, 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 sorry. I didn't realize the time. Sorry, sorry. No, he'll be right at your window going, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. And the other dogs in the neighborhood, they hear him, they join in, help him! Help him! Help him! Help me on out! Get me out! 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 So here's the thing that gets me. He's barking in your yard, the owner's yard. Ho, ho, ho! He's next to your window. Ho, ho, ho! Why don't you hear him, okay?
Can I talk about hunting? Is that okay here? Like, okay, whoa. Because some people are against hunting. Well, if you really are for hunting, I'm not bragging, but I just wanted to, I got a 10-point buck this year. And yeah. And it did not mess up my truck like I thought it was going to. But my dad and I would go duck hunting. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but that is a beautiful father-son moment where the sun's coming up in the morning and it's peaceful. And my dad and I'd be hiding under the slide by the swing set. And I'd be tearing off the bread. They'd come waddling over. You know I'm kidding. They didn't waddle like that. So we would, and we had to hunt. I mean, we had to hunt because and I'm not complaining because God always provided, but we grew up very poor, like really poor, like, had to eat cereal with a fork to save on milk. I actually asked my dad my junior year for a cordless razor, and he gave me some sandpaper. And we grew up out in the country. The town I grew up in had 281 people in it. That was it. I had 17 in my graduating class. Oh, and I get this question all the time. Let me answer that. No, we didn't all go cow tipping. People are always like, oh, I bet everybody went cow tipping. I'm like, no, somebody had to be a lookout. And I liked growing up there. I actually went back last year because I wanted to do a show for the little school there. And I also wanted to visit all my friends. And they're all still there. That's not a joke. I actually was excited to see everybody. And I had to call them because they don't have email yet. And I was like, hey, where do you guys want to meet? And I was really excited. And there was only one place to meet. They were like, the store. And we have one store. It was like Charles One Stop All Night Videotape Rental Gas Grocery Souvenir Bait and Tackle Shop. It may be a chain. I don't know. But everybody was hanging out at the store, just like high school times. And I pulled up in my rental car, and they treated me like I was an outsider. I couldn't believe it. I got out of the car, and they were all like, oh, look, coming here, Mr. Big City Man, Mr. Comedy, Mr. I've flown on an airplane. And I was like, what? I embraced it. I was like, that's right, boys. Say hello to Mr. I use a toothbrush,
Bob Smiley. Coming up, more great comedy and a conversation with Leland Clausen, who just finished his brand new comedy action film. It's all coming up right here on the Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Everyone is drawn to sycamore trees because of their seeds that spiral down to the ground, looking very much like tiny helicopters. But there's much more to adore about the sycamore, as you'll see on today's Creation Moment. And now our Creation Moments host, Paul Taylor.
I grew up in a house surrounded by a sycamore wood. Perhaps 50% of the trees were sycamores. I loved these fascinating trees. I was taught that Zacchaeus, who was a very little man, according to the children's song, climbed up into a sycamore tree to see Jesus. This is not strictly correct, as the sycamore mentioned in Luke's Gospel is actually a type of fig tree and not really related to the sycamore in Britain. Even the British sycamore is not native to Britain, having been introduced from Europe in the 1500s. The famous tree in Tolpuddle, England, where the trades union movement was founded in 1834 by the Tolpuddle martyrs, was a sycamore tree and is therefore known as the martyrs' tree. I always found the way that sycamores reproduce to be fascinating. The fruits consist of a seed about a quarter-inch in diameter attached to a wing about 1 inch long. The fruits are stuck in pairs, so the seed pair also has a pair of wings. When these drop from the tree, they spiral downwards quite slowly and can get caught by the wind and blown quite a distance away from the tree, looking for all the world like tiny helicopters. The distribution of seedlings around the parent sycamore tends to be asymmetric, as there will be more seedlings on the side opposite to the direction of the prevailing wind. This unusual seed scattering points to the great variety with which God has blessed us in His creation.
If you enjoyed today's broadcast, you'll be able to read thousands of radio transcriptions in our best-selling book series, Letting God Create Your Day. To find out more, visit us at creationmoments.com or call 1-800-42-BIBLE.
The Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Highlight. Here's Tim Hawkins.
Think about how music is weird. Music is weird from the time we're born. Parents sing these wild lullabies to their kids. You ever listen to the words to some of these songs? No wonder we're out of our mind. Heard of Rockabye Baby? Listen to the words to that. Rockabye Baby on the treetops. Does that not weird anybody out here? Are you guys... The baby's in a tree! When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. And down will come baby, cradle and all. We need to call Child Protective Services on these parents leaving their baby in a stinky tree.
Get our free app over at DarenStreblow.com.
Hey, I'm Season, and I'm a joy bringer. Is the glass half full or half empty? Your response to this age-old question may determine if you're an optimist or a pessimist. And while simply determining whether a glass is half full or empty may not make an impact on your life, the way we see our circumstances certainly can affect all kinds of things. In James 1, verse 2 and 3, James says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." Talk about an optimist. That sounds good, but it's certainly not easy. Something practical that I do when facing a difficult circumstance is I ask the Lord, what is it that you want to teach me? And who do you want to be to me in this moment? He's so faithful to answer. I'm Season, and I'm a joy bringer.
There's laughter in the air. Better yet, there's laughter on the air. It's the Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
In the right lane, driving slow, I was in my new Tahoe, talking on my blue cell phone. Where she came from, I don't know. She was in a GXE, then she swerved in front of me. Lost my grip and then I lost control.
then she crashed into me. What could I do? What could I do? Center lane and driving free in my brand new Cherokee. I was eating Chinese food. Out of nowhere came this dude and crashed into me, baby. What could I do? I think he might sue me. In the left lane, kicking back, I was in my brand new Cadillac, and all I heard was screeching brakes, and spilled my bowl of frosted flakes and crashed into a tree. Bing, 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 ding, dong, ding, dong, ding. Bling, ding, dong. Oh, I watch you there through my window, and I'm scared. Well, I may drive, I don't do it so well. Now I'm all twisted, I don't like to be from you to me. You crashed into me, baby. Crashed into me, yeah. I'm not such a great commuter. Maybe I should get a scooter. Oh, I'm the king of the castle. This is such a hassle. Crashed into me. Crashed into me. Crashed into me. Oh, I love you. You love me. We're a happy family.
Finishing off with a little Barney homage. Very nice. Tim Hawkins on the Daren Streblow Comedy Show. And now from the Bananas television program, here's Scott Gregory.
You ever sit next to somebody at a table they're eating with and they take a bite of food that's gone bad? You ever notice a little procedure that happens quickly after that? You know, they're just eating along, everything's fine, then suddenly you get that... Man, that is the most awful, the most rancid thing. Gee. Here, taste this. They always want you to try it too. Come on, man, you see me suffer, now stick it in your mouth too. Come on, puke with me, come on. Or you get the choke and explain. I just love that one. The choke and explain. Someone's sitting right across from you and they go through the big choking tirade, then they feel like they have to tell you about it. I was like, I was joking. Really? Well, thanks for cluing me in. I just thought it was some kind of bizarre eating ritual way over yonder on your side of the table. And some people drink a warm glass of milk to help them sleep at night, which I guess explains why cows get real tired on hot days. Yeah, and then I tell you who I feel sorry for, the people, these companies that have a product, and all they have going for them is the name in the product. That's it. That's it, like ice companies. Ice companies. I mean, if you're an ice vendor, why am I going to buy your ice over someone else's, except for the name? It's the same thing going on. So everywhere I travel, I look out these names, I look them up. It's like there's Arctic ice and polar ice and party ice, and one of my favorites is Crazy Cubes. We got some Crazy Cubes. Let's just get some hard cubes and go crazy. I even know one company that named its ice Ready Ice. There's no need to name your ice Ready Ice unless there are people out there that don't know when ice is done. We could sell these people anything like new liquid ice. Just water in a bag with instructions, put in freezer. Oh, really confuse them on the back of it, put thaw before use.
Now, it's cool doing comedy because I get to travel. I travel all over the world doing comedy. I was in Nebraska for some reason. I noticed that some of the airports, they don't have enough security. One airport didn't even have a real metal detector. It was just a lady standing there with an attitude. He looked like he got something. Beep. Did you just say beep? This is gonna stop me. Excuse me, Michael Jr., we're gonna have to use a wand on you. I was like, all right, that's cool, and I spread my arms out. This little dude named Juan came over and started frisking me. Watch everybody, man. I also watch vehicles. If some cars could talk, they would have some serious complaints. Like a Geo Metro. Look at me, man. I'm a Geo Metro. I'm one of the smallest vehicles on the market. Why the biggest human being in the world got to buy me? We the same size. Can I get a ride once in a while?
The outstanding Michael Jr. on the Daren Streblow Comedy Show. And before that, Scott Gregory. Coming up on the show, we've got Leland Clausen. He just completed a brand new, family-friendly comedy action film. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's coming up right here on the Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Here's our expert, Rob West, with today's MoneyWise Minute.
Are you prepared for the next market downturn, or will you panic and head for the sidelines? The current bull market is the longest in history, and we're due for a major correction. To withstand these fluctuations, you need to prepare. Practically, you need the correct asset allocation for your investment horizon. And you must stay invested during a bear market to take advantage of dollar cost averaging. But you must also prepare emotionally. Long-term investors stay committed because they know the power of the market over time. And believers have God's word. 2 Timothy 1:7 tells us, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind." Remember that the next time your portfolio takes a hit. It's only temporary.
And you can learn more about trusting God and becoming a wise money manager when you contact us online, moneywise.org, moneywise.org.
The Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Highlight. Here's Tim Hawkins.
Remember Hush Little Baby? You ever listen to that? Hush Little Baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. Are you serious? If I shut up, I get a bird? Is that what you're saying to me? Go on. Lift that mockingbird, don't sing. Mom's gonna buy you a diamond ring. Let me get this one straight here. If I kill the bird, I get bling bling. Is that what you're saying? Just want to get this straight.
There's more laughs for you in our free app over at DarenStreblow.com.
Here's a Renewing Your Mind Minute with Dr. R.C. Sproul.
Who is the foundation of the Christian church? The immediate reply that the majority of people give to that question is Christ. But the New Testament says that it is the prophets and the apostles who are the foundation of the church. So that the church's foundation does not begin in the New Testament. It is established early on in redemptive history. The Old Testament prophets, the New Testament apostles, together comprise the foundation. When you look at the New Jerusalem that comes down from heaven in the book of Revelation, what's the foundation? The foundation is the prophets and the apostles. Christ is called the cornerstone. He is the one who anchors even the foundation.
For today's special offer, visit renewingyourmind.org.
God will never stop pursuing you, no matter how far you run and no matter what you do or don't do. And his heart breaks when we choose to do things that hurt ourselves or others. That is why he commands us in Matthew 5:44 to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. What? How does that make sense? Well, God created us in his image, and we are his children whom he loves. So just because someone is your enemy doesn't mean they're God's. They're his lost child, and he wants them back. Yeah, there are circumstances where we're called to face the bully, the tyrant, and say, no more, and fight back, but not out of revenge. God is willing that not anyone be lost. In his great love, he says, confess to me your sins, turn back to me. Nothing can separate my love from you. This earth is temporary, and heaven is forever. Choose love, receive love, and follow Jesus every day. For more encouragement in everyday matters, visit DebbieGriffith.com.
It's the Daren Streblow Comedy Show, and on the phone with me, comedian, actor, writer, director, wild, uninhibited bell ringer, Leland Clausen. I don't know if you remember that, what you did to me at an Arby's so many years ago.
Arby's.
Yeah.
Don't put a sign up that says, if you're excited about the service, ring the bell. If you don't want me to ring that bell.
It was packed in the lobby. Everyone smelled like each other. It was so packed. And then suddenly this Canadian goes up to the bell and is just like, ding, 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 woo-hoo! And all the heads just turn. And I'm like, that's my buddy. That's Leland Clausen. So I'll never forget it. Never forget it. How you doing?
Yeah, well,
welcome to the show.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I was so satisfied with the service that day, especially because it was busy.
Right.
So I needed to express it. Luckily there was an outlet for me to do that.
I think you might be the only person who has rung that bell over the course of the years. Not because they don't provide excellent service, just people get nervous about bringing bells, but not you. Not you.
Yeah, I think there was dust coming off it when I was ringing it, I'll be honest with you.
Everyone was choking. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. And speaking of amazing, I've been seeing a lot of great posts about your new movie. Tell us about that. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited.
Yes. Well, can I get back to one other thing? You did
All
say
right.
I was you said director. I'm not a director.
I disagree. I've seen you direct sketch work that's been fantastic. I think you are indeed a director.
Okay. Well, then I'll take it. I'll take that, and thank you for that.
Absolutely.
That compliment.
Funny stuff.
Yeah, Sleeper Agent is the movie. It was so much fun to make. It's a story I'd had for years, and partnered up with a real director. He also helped write it, change some stuff in it a little bit, and get it ready. And it was so much fun to make. So much fun.
Now, you've always been kind of a fan of the whole super spy genre, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because this character, he just loves the spy world, and so to decorate the set, it was like I just brought a bunch of stuff that I had
from your house. That's awesome.
From my own house. I was like, here, use these. You need some stuff? Here, try this. How about this? Well, these are great. Yeah. This character, Walter Gertzen, is me pretty much. So yeah, so much fun. I mean, hey, getting to do what I love. And something that's my baby, getting to play with it is awesome.
Well, tell us the basic premise of the story. I read the script, but I think I read it before some of the changes came. And in the original script, you're an Amish farmer going to the co-op to get just to get a better price from someone. Did it have some changes between there and now, or
it did. It's come a long way.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't give Nathan enough credit in the rewrite.
It was called Produce Agent in the beginning, but now we're
Yes.
Sleeper Agent. Tell us about the story.
So it's about a guy who loves the spy world, loves it, and he also is a guy who doesn't feel he has any purpose. He's just kind of disappointed in life, and so he ends up convincing himself that he's a generational sleeper agent. His grandparents had come from Russia, like before the Russian Revolution.
Yeah.
And I'm not making this, usually I say it in such a flashy way that people are like, oh, that's hilarious. And now I'm just really stating facts about it. But anyway, there's no such thing as a generational sleeper agent, by the way.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
It's like embedded so deep in the consciousness of the DNA that it comes out when you're an adult generations later. It's a fascinating idea. It's almost a science fiction.
You know what? There you go. I've made my first science fiction now.
See? Crossing genres, comedy, super spy.
That's right.
Science fiction is beautiful.
No, but it's an action comedy, and there is some action. I mean, hey, this isn't a Mission Impossible action, but I do some stunts. I do a lot of stunts.
Yeah? Is there any bell ringing at any time during the film? Anything like that?
No, I wish.
Oh, I'm disappointed.
That's my next project. No, I did fall down a lot of stairs. I will say this about the stunt work, because there's nobody has. I did my own stunts, like Tom Cruise.
Of course, very cool.
But most of mine are pretty easy compared to what Tom Cruise was pulling off.
Yeah. Well, falling down the stairs, that's a cause of death. So it is. People die from that.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Wow. You know what? When you put it like that, I feel a lot better about my stunt work, because one day I was running and all I had to do is jump up onto a ledge, and but the angle I'm a left-footed jumper, so I was just jumping left foot, and they're like, "Hey, we got to have you jumping off your right foot. You land on your left. It looks better." So I was like, "Not a problem. I can do that." And I've had difficulty doing that. I'm like, why can't I jump off my right foot? What is wrong with me? Cut. What's going on? Why does it look weird? I'm uncoordinated with my right foot. So I finally figured that out. And then I was so excited I got up onto the ledge that I pushed off too hard. And I started to fall down forward.
Oh, no.
So I put my hand out. Yeah, I put my hand out, and I actually jammed my fingers. And I just dropped, and I was like, and I just laid there. But it didn't look impressive at all. Like, there's a scene in Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise sprints off a high-rise building and jumps onto another one.
Right.
Have you seen this movie? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Now, they had harnesses that they took out in CG, sure. But he full-on sprints and dives, and then he's supposed to land on his arms, like catching him like just with his hands to catch the building, and then pull himself up and keep running. They got all these cameras, so they don't do this more than once or twice.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but he sprints off, jumps, and as he's coming down, he catches his foot as he's on the ledge as he's coming down, snaps his ankle. But this is Tom Cruise. This is how good he is. He knows the camera's facing him, and he knows, now it's broken. I gotta finish this stunt, or we'll be in trouble. So he pulls himself up and runs past with a broken foot, runs past the camera, limping, and then cut back to me. I jumped off the wrong foot, and I just, and then I landed.
Catching yourself with your hands. Now, for those who don't know you, your hands are quite sizable. So you were originally at a 90-degree angle to the ground, but if you caught yourself with your hands, were you at like an 87-degree angle? Or what?
About that, yeah.
I mean, you didn't go all the way down, but still enough to jam your fingers. Good for you. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, then I got some cherries or raspberries on my leg when I fell.
Ugh.
And then a week later, they got infected.
No. Oh, no. No.
Tom Cruise is running around with a broken foot doing movies, and I have one little fall. And it's weeks later, and I'm still recovering from the infection.
You gave everything for this movie, man.
You know what? I did when you put it that way.
Now, what was it like having Mark Christopher Lawrence and Matt Folk together in the same room. What in the world was that like?
Oh, these guys.
They played your
could have done
friends.
a
They
whole-
played your friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Mark Christopher Lawrence, most people recognize him from Big Mike from Chuck.
Yes.
And the NBC series Chuck. Matt Folk, Canadian comedian extraordinaire.
Yes.
And the chemistry between those two in those scenes, they just met each other. But, man, right away, they got the characters, and they just flew with it. It was beautiful.
Oh,
we had
fun.
to get takes that we were just like, we can't use all of these. But, yeah, it was so much fun. And there was stuff I didn't see. I'd walk away from the scene, and they'd keep going, and I didn't hear it. So later on, I get to see these takes, and I'm just laughing away watching these takes because I was like, oh, I didn't know they had said all that stuff. That's so funny.
That's pretty cool. And your love interest?
No, my wife wasn't in it.
Okay.
My wife wasn't in the movie. Is that what you mean? Is that you?
Why wouldn't your wife be in the movie?
She's a terrible actress.
I understand.
She'd have to act like she's not annoyed with me most of the time, and that's too much to ask any
That
actor.
might drag the story down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, Gigi Ercillo played Kate, who's Walter's love interest, and also, I don't want to give too much of the movie away.
Yeah.
She's also involved in the action comedy story as well.
Pretty cool.
But she was fantastic. Yeah, so fantastic.
Hey, I'm up against a break. Would you be willing to hang around for just a little while longer? Talk a little more?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
All right, more Leland Clausen, some of his fantastic stand-up comedy, and also the comedy of Joby Sapp, all coming up right here on the Daren Streblow Comedy Show. Stay with us.
I lost my job. How will I tell my family?
From Keys for Kids Ministries, here's Greg Yoder with a Keys for Kids Parent Minute.
This is devastating. When this happens to us, you and I can't help but experience the obvious: sadness, anger, frustration, fear, and self-doubt. We feel like failures. As Christians, we need to make sure we don't forget that God's in control. We have the head knowledge, but do our actions match? The question is, how do we tell our kids? First, we need to make sure we're honest, but then help them understand that this is a hard time for everybody. Finally, make sure God is our focus and that our kids participate in praying for the situation. While it's okay for them to see you afraid, it's important that they also see you have victory over it.
Teach your kids about God with the free Keys for Kids devotional. Find it online at keysforkids.org/subscribe.
The Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Highlight. Here's Keith Halberstadt.
I just read a book about John Adams. He and his lovely wife, Abigail, they would write letters to each other through the duration of their time together, which was beautiful. I don't think that would last if either one of them communicated like we do nowadays. Like John would spill his guts out. Dearest Abigail, I long to awaken with you like the sunshine in the morning. Be steadfast, my love. Abigail's response, K. K? It took 5 months to get here. Dear John, LOL, and winky face.
Get more laughs in our free app at DarenStreblow.com.
Here's Rob West with today's MoneyWise Minute.
Tithers make up less than a quarter of the average congregation today. It seems the wealthier we become, the less we give back to God, who gives us everything. Most people say they'd like to tithe, but they can't. They're in financial bondage. Sometimes this is unavoidable, but too often it's simply from living beyond their means and accumulating debt. Spiritual bondage also prevents us from giving. Our will is opposed to God's will. We make decisions that prevent us from giving more. In spiritual bondage, we simply want other things more than we want to give to God's kingdom. If either of these obstacles sounds too familiar, in earnest prayer, ask God to conform your will to His. He'll give you clear direction on how much you should give.
And you can learn more about trusting God with your finances and find some tools that'll help when you visit moneywise.org. That's moneywise.org.
The Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Hey, welcome back. Leland Clausen on the phone. The actor, the comedian, the man himself. Just releasing his brand new film, Sleeper Agent. Very exciting. Hey, Leland. So now, where's this movie played so far? You've had a premiere, I understand.
Yeah, we did an American premiere in Denver, and then like the actual premiere.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if to call it an American one.
Yeah.
We also did a special screener in Phoenix, and then also we did a Canadian premiere in just outside of Vancouver in Abbotsford, where I am from, because I wanted the local folks to see it.
Very cool. Now, I understand that you're putting together a screening for churches, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working on a distribution deal, and of course, we're talking to Netflix, we're talking to places like that. But there's also going to be a window of opportunity, is what I guess I'll call it, where we are going to do, because the distribution deals aren't all in place yet, and that's all going to kind of change some things. But what it won't change is the fact that we want to take it to churches and give them an opportunity to screen, because it's very different for a faith-based movie. It's more of an outreach, friendly kind of kind of event.
A clean adventure movie, just a fun night for your church kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's one of the things we're going to be setting up and doing, and providing it for, and give them all the resources and stuff that they need to promote the event as well. And I think it's going to be fun. It's a unique way to get the movie out there too.
Well, if you're involved with a church, dear listener, and want to get involved with a movie, Sleeper Agent, and maybe...
Or bring it into a theater.
We could do that too.
Talk about that. Like, why not?
Go to LelandClausen.com and contact Leland about that possibility. He'll get you in touch with the right people. That could be a really fun thing. That'd be a really fun thing.
Just email me at info@LelandClausen.com and say, hey, we're interested in bringing it to our community or whatever, and we'll start making it happen.
That's very cool. Well, the movie is Sleeper Agent, starring Mr. Leland Clausen. Fantastic, hilarious guy. You're going to love the movie, and could be coming to a theater, a church, or a performance area near you. So check that out. Hey, Leland, loved having you on. Thanks for being with me today. I always appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
I had two sons. My oldest son, he's 6 years old. His name's Cooper. And I have a little 2.5. Well, he'll be 3 years old in January. His name's Hunter. But what we were going to do when Cooper was 3 and Hunter was about to be born, we thought maybe what we should do is let Cooper name his little brother, because then he'll feel like he's part of the family. We'll get to, because it's a tough time when you bring a new baby in, so you want him to feel part of the family. And I'm really glad we didn't do that now. Because first of all, he would have been named SpongeBob. Which was my son's favorite cartoon show. And secondly, it would have been spelled AOP, which are the only 3 letters he knew at the time, But it would have been pretty tough first day of school for that poor kid, Okay, is that Alp here? Is it Aop? Aop? It's pronounced SpongeBob. My brother named me, okay? Just call me Creepy Big Hands and get it over with, okay? I always think I'm a good dad, but then I'll actually, my son will say something and it'll just make me realize, maybe I'm not so good, The other day I was playing with my son Cooper, and I like to get right on the floor when I play. I get right down on there and play whatever he's playing. I'm right there with him. All of a sudden we're playing along and he stops and he says to me, hey, Dad, pretend you're a real dad. Then pretend you never had sugar, you little freak. He's got such a sweet tooth. Everything has to be sweet. So can I put sugar on my sugar? He's sickening. It's like, is that syrup in the bottom of the fridge? Can I lick it? You know what he calls those sugar cubes you put in coffee? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you guys get those little sugar? You know what he calls them? He calls them squares. Like there's some dessert or something. Hey, Dad, can I have another square? It's sugar! It's pure sugar! Can I put some sugar on my square? No! because I'm a comedian, I like to use the humor as a way to kind of diffuse potentially pretty, tense situations. It's kind of like a parenting technique I use. I figure, I'm a comedian, might as well use that as a parenting technique. And a perfect example, the other day my son had this terrible, terrible nightmare. He woke up screaming, he was really scared, and I was taking him back to bed, and I thought, here's the perfect opportunity to use, humor is kind of lighten the mood, make everything, feel better. So we're walking back into his room. We got into his room, and I was like, there's someone in your room with a knife! I'm just kidding. Okay, off to bed. No, I'm kidding. All right, sweet dreams. Oh, man. But the wife and I sure noticed that you gotta spend time with each other when you have kids. You got to make sure you get that time with just you and her. And you know what she says? This has got to be pretty creepy. I feel bad for her on this. Apparently, I sleep talk. Do a lot of sleep talking. But I also, I guess, sleep with my eyes open sometimes. That's got to be a pretty creepy feeling, eh? Rolling over and having me look at you. Mr. Jenkins wants more soup. I like cheese.
Leland Clausen, and here's Joey Sad.
I woke up, I was so tired. I had to shave twice. First time I forgot to take the little plastic cover off my razor. You're sneaky. Picked up my shaving cream, thought it was deodorant. Now what am I going to do? Might as well shave my armpit. Save time later. What? I'm busy. I'm in an important meeting right now with some important people from a television, from some people from a TV show. I'm shaving my armpit. My sister, she's always bugging me. What are you doing? That sounds like something you do. I was putting on some deodorant, and my spray nozzle stuck. Does that ever happen to you? Just wouldn't shut off. I'm like, oh great, what am I going to do? I'm calling people in my building. Hey, you want some free deodorant? Yeah, it's free, but you better hurry. Yeah, it's getting weaker. I'm pulling shirts off the floor, just spraying the armpits. I finally just started staring at it after a while. I'm getting dizzy. I should probably open a window. I finally let it empty, and it wouldn't shut off. It just kept going. So I finally just let the rest of it empty into a jelly jar that I had in the fridge. So, yeah, now I'll put my deodorant on with a butter knife. My roommate's like, I can't believe it's not butter. Whenever I go over to somebody's house, somebody invites you over to the place, something always happens. I always spill something on their carpet. I accidentally step on their pet. Oh, yeah, this is nice. I'm afraid to go inside. As soon as I get there, people are like, oh, he's here. Come on in, let me give you the tour. I don't think it's a very good idea. I understand people, they want to show you every nook and cranny of their house. Look, I'm not a decorator, you're not Elvis. What do I want to see the house for? You know what I mean? They want to show you every room. Just show me the toys. I don't care about your place. You gotta say that, you have to pretend like you're interested. But I understand, it's like it's always a bunch of empty rooms, nobody's in there, nobody's doing anything. Who wants to see that? They always have that one door, like, I don't want you to go in there, there's a mess. Well, that's the one room I want to look in. They're hiding something. One of us has got to get in. Try to make it look like an accident. I told you not to go in there. I was looking for the bathroom. Who are these people tied up in here?
From the Bananas television program, Joby Sad on the Daren Streblow Comedy Show. Thanks to Joby for being on the program this week. And I'd like to thank the other comedians you heard this week as well. Thor Ramsey, Bob Smiley, Tim Hawkins, Scott Gregory, Michael Jr., and Leland Clausen. That is going to do it for this week, my friend. We'll see you again next week right here.
The Daren Streblow Comedy Show. Executive producer Daren Streblow. A Streblow Comedy Inc. production.
I'm asleep. You are not. I'm asleep. You are not.
Even the dogs are outside going, roll over! Roll over on your side!
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you signed up for a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. MediShare is a healthcare sharing program. Hundreds of thousands of Christians are part of this. It can save you a lot. Typical savings for a family is about $500 a month. You can join MediShare anytime. It's easy to call and look into it. There's no pressure at all. And man, what a difference it can make. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40.
On a previous program, we looked at sycamore trees. But on today's Creation Moment, we'll visit the alder trees that grow near the volcano in Washington state that erupted so violently in 1980. And now, our Creation Moments host and Mount St. Helens tour guide, Paul Taylor.
As a boy, I liked to watch the coal being unloaded from the railway wagons at the power station sidings. These were situated with the Tyne River on one side and the Huddersfield Narrow Canal on the other. Huge signal gantries towered above the railway tracks. I had occasion to revisit the area about 20 years after the power station had closed. Walking through a mysterious wood between the waterways that I did not remember, I wondered where the coal sidings had gone. No railway tracks remained, and I didn't remember these trees. But then I had my Narnia moment. In the middle of the wood, I came across a tall metal pole. Looking up, I could see the railway signal gantry at the top. The wood had grown rapidly around where the railway sidings used to be. The wood consisted of alder trees, and these grow very quickly. They can grow in areas of devastation, such as former industrial sites, where there is little or no nitrogen in the soil. They grow in abundance on areas covered by the devastating landslide from the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. Like the power station land, this area has no nitrogen in the soil. But alder trees fix their own nitrogen through a symbiotic relationship with Frankia bacteria living in the roots of the tree. Neither tree nor bacteria could have evolved before the other, so their existence is consistent only with what the Bible says about creating these amazing trees.
Visit us at creationmoments.com for a huge selection of books and DVDs about biblical creation and the Bible. Or call 1-800-42-BIBLE and ask how you can get a free ebook on creation.
The Daren Streblow Comedy Show.
Highlight. Tim Hawkins wonders who wrote Pop Goes the Weasel.
Right, this one, right. Okay, get a pen. This is unbelievable. Right. Write this down. All around the cobbler's bench. Right, no, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought twizzle and fun. Pop goes the weasel. Trust me, right, Dad, it'll be a hit in America. They'll love it. They'll put in boxes of Cranky and a clown pops out, scares children. They'll buy 1 million of them.
Get more laughs at DarenStreblow.com.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope that you enjoyed the programs that we brought to you. I want to encourage you to tune in tomorrow because we'll be having more programs. Here's what I'd like for you to do. If you've been listening, email me, George C.E. That's George C.E. at Comcast.net. George C.E. at Comcast.net. We get statistics from where people listen across the country and around the world. We're in many foreign countries, in all parts of the nation here. But just drop me a line, georgece@comcast.net. Let me know where you're listening from specifically. And we'll answer each and every email as we always do. That's georgece@comcast.net. Thank you for taking the time to tune in tonight. Remember, you can tell other people. You can come back and listen to any episode that you heard or any previous episode all the way back through the archives. Not only that, you can download each and every one of them if you want. You can take one, some, or all, and it don't cost you nothing. So, from me and all the gang here at the Funny Farm, and trust me, there is a gang here at this Funny Farm, thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope and pray that you had a very good time. I hope that it brought a smile to your face in these turbulent times. Now remember, tune in again tomorrow. We'll have more programming for you. So wherever you're at tonight, whether it's down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, thank you. From the depths of our heart, we thank you. And remember, wherever you're at, whatever time it might be, if it's nighttime, have a very pleasant night. If it's already daytime, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Be kind one to another, love one another, take care of one another. We all need each other right now. And trust me, we're going to come out of this thing, and we're going to come out on the other end, and the sun will be shining, the birds will be singing, the grass will be growing, and we'll be happy one more time. So until next time, I trust and pray that God will keep you right in the center of his hand. Good night, everybody.